お前もこの小僧も呪いの何たるかをまるで分かっていないな。いい機会だ。教えてやる。本物の呪術というものを。領域展開。
Ryomen Sukuna, a fearsome god with two faces. So powerful he was remembered for 1,000 years. The fallen and the king of curses, and the only true rival of Gojo Satoru, and he hardly resembles a man. Today we're going to delve into the powers of Ryomen Sukuna and his place in the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. Gaining his title as the king of curses in the Heian era of sorcery, sorcerers would flock to hone their skills and challenge this ancient menace. But just how strong is Ryomen Sukuna? Is he even a human anymore? As far as we know, Sukuna is the most experienced sorcerer in Jujutsu Kaisen, and not only is he experienced, but he's exceptionally intelligent as well. And you know he didn't get it from Yuji. In his 10-second fight with Gojo, Sukuna was able to discern that something was off with Gojo's speed. And what's even more impressive is he was able to discover the adaptability of the Mahoraga within 7 minutes of engaging it. Up until Sukuna's fight with it, the Mahoraga was presumably undefeated. And not only did he defeat it, he snuck in an opportunity to bully Yuji. Not only is Sukuna intelligent, but his personality lends itself perfectly to battle. Unlike the arrogance of a character like Gojo Satoru, while exceptionally prideful, Sukuna enters every conflict with the hope of being impressed. Ryomen Sukuna truly thrives in combat, and he is fully aware of his place in the hierarchy of power in the Jujutsu world. Even veteran sorcerers prove themselves too slow when they come up against the King of Curses. Sukuna is so fast, he was able to jump straight across Shibuya and intercept one of the Mahoraga's attacks. And it's not just speed, it's reaction times as well, being able to dodge a sword of extermination inches from his face. Sukuna's malevolence runs so deep, it bleeds not just into his domain, but his curse energy as well, which itself is boundless. Sukuna has never once struggled with curse energy reserves, not even after opening a domain before eating his third finger. At full power, it is likely to be the highest in the entire series, surpassing the likes of Yuta Okotsu, if it hasn't already. And speaking of curse energy, his talent with reverse curse technique is second to none. His skill with reverse curse technique is so effortless that he accidentally healed Yuji's arm. He was also able to live without a heart, even though he was not able to do this indefinitely. This was at 3 fingers, and he was casually fighting while doing it. And on top of all of that, he is capable of healing others with his reverse curse technique. So at the moment, it's safe to say this guy is the best reverse curse technique user we've seen in the series. This is pure speculation, but at 20 fingers, I wouldn't be surprised if Sukuna got his head chopped off, but he just grew back his whole body. While curse energy is formed in the stomach, Yuki Tsukumo was able to use her black hole when her stomach was blown in half. And while RCT comes from the brain, as long as you keep that curse energy flowing, you should be able to come back, even if the lightning bolt is currently going into your mind. And Sukuna's probably got more curse energy in his pinky finger than most sorcerers combined. Even notable jobbers like Ryu say healing an arm is no small feat with a reverse curse technique. And while yes, Ryu did get punked and instantly died, it wasn't until after Sukuna complimented him and got serious. And after all, dying to the King of Curses is hardly unexpected. But let's talk about the physical strength of Ryomen Sukuna. If we look at his original form, we can clearly see that Sukuna was just a slab of meat. But aside from that, many people believe that Yuji was the reason for his immense physical strength on top of his reinforcement. But in Chapter 213, inside of Megumi's body, he was fully capable of decking Yuji across the city. Sukuna also seems fully capable of jumping into near orbit, but particularly when he is fighting children and or Mount Fuji heads. And after cleaving the Mahoraga, he was capable of making a crater into the earth with one kick. So on the whole, this thing is obviously weaker than Ryomen Sukuna. It is not a pushover, and being able to contend with its strength is something most sorcerers would never be able to do. And his physical stats were shown to be high at 3 and 15 fingers. And he said, man, this Mahoraga thing might have been able to beat me at 3 fingers. Which implies he still had a shot at 3 fingers, which is quite frankly insane. That's the best part about Ryomen Sukuna's personality, is that he will give it his all from 1 to 20 fingers. Sukuna thinks that winning is winning no matter what, and he is above nothing to achieve victory. He will use trickery, and if that doesn't work, he'll try to bully you. But not only is he conniving, he's incredibly durable as well. Sukuna stopped the full force of an overhead unadapted Mahoraga with 1 forearm. And even though he got taken off his feet by a curse energy reinforced hit from the Mahoraga, he showed 0 signs of injury. Let's talk about the fact that Sukuna was able to interact with idle transfiguration. Soul-related curse techniques are so rare that even grade 1 sorcerers almost get 1 or 2 shot by them, and this is an often overlooked feat, but an incredibly powerful one. However, this is not to say that Sukuna is immune to soul damage, because while he may have defenses most lack, once you are a hippo, you are a hippo. However, considering Sukuna can change his form, perhaps he can come back from being a hippo, because this is also implied to be soul manipulation to some extent. And getting hippified is the second leading form of civilian death in Jujutsu Kaisen, right behind this. And speaking of this, let's talk about Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine. This is implied to be the most refined domain in the entire series. It is the only one directly stated to have a binding vow attached to it, though Kenjaku's is heavily implied to be the same way. Not just any Joe Blow sorcerer can make a binding vow in their domain expansion. Even Four-Eyed Thumb Tengen herself is shocked that Kenjaku is able to do this, and compares it directly to Sukuna, because there's a difference between having no barrier and having a binding vow attached to your barrier. This is a masterful barrier technique, and it puts them in the upper echelon of barrier users. And this makes sense because we see both Kenjaku and Sukuna use their domains as just an active part of their curse technique, and Sukuna was looking down on Jogo for being unwilling to open his domain, so I expect later in the series we're going to see far more explanation on domain interactions with each other. And while so far we've only seen an interactive cleave and dismantle, I'm sure it'll incorporate other parts of his technique as well. And Sukuna seems to have no idea what technique burnout is after a domain expansion. The only thing burning out here is the Mahoraga's life. And if a bomb going off is this guy's technique burned out, well, I don't want to see what a maximum version of this thing looks like. As for his actual technique, well, aside from the exceptionally fast dismantle and his overwhelming cleave, we know basically nothing. But if you want to see what I think his curse technique may be, I will put the video above. But let's step away from the power scaling and talk about who Ryomen Sukuna really is in the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. Sukuna is ancient, and while he got his title as the King of Curses during the Heian period, he is likely far older than that. And given the way he refers to Jujutsu sorcerers, he could be older than Jujutsu sorcery itself. Characters like Tengen, Kenjaku, and Sukuna know something about cursed energy that other people in the story do not. And it's possible he's older than Tengen and Kenjaku as well. Tengen's appearance due to advanced aging is directly compared to Sukuna's, and she says that she is maintaining this appearance via barrier technique. Sukuna is also heavily implied to be inhuman and demonic. Jacob's Ladder is the only thing that has ever done significant damage to Sukuna in this entire series. And whether this is related to burning away the curse technique that is keeping Sukuna alive, if it's a barrier technique similar to Tengen, or it's just obliterating his soul or any binding vow made around it, so far Angel's technique isn't fully explained. Now, he also has access to 10 shadows currently inside of Megumi's body. However, I'm going to make a separate video on the Shikigami that Sukuna has tainted once he has used them all. But long story short, in chapter 217, Sukuna basically said, I'm going to go pull out one of the most powerful things on the planet for a test run. So Sukuna is old and demonic. But let's talk about the implied strength of Ryomen Sukuna. And let's talk about Gojo Satoru, because right now, Gojo is it on the list of people that could maybe do anything to this guy. The 6 eyes are directly linked to Tengen, and possibly even created by her accidentally or on purpose via the cursed energy barrier. Because until Toji capped Riko, the 6 eyes were basically soul-bound to defending star plasma vessels. Tengen directly refers to Toji as someone who escaped cursed energy, and I believe this is at the core of what cursed energy truly is, and something only a select few characters like Ryomen Sukuna are fully aware of. And whether Sukuna is directly aware of the 6 eyes, he has seen them, and it's likely he was already aware of them, considering characters like Kenjaku and Tengen were. If he wasn't aware before, he certainly is now after taking over Yuji and Megumi's body. Sukuna is also in possession of the 10 Shadows and the Mahoraga, a better version of this technique than anyone has ever had in history, which have been foreshadowed to kill a 6 eyes limitless user. Gojo is foreshadowed to have struggled with poisons, and while yes, this was 10 years ago, what was the point of bringing it up at all if it's not coming back into play? Sukuna has directly mentioned Gojo as a notable sorcerer. He knows they are trying to get him out of the prison realm, but not only does he not seem to care, he doesn't even mention it. And Kenjaku has Geto and all of his memories and knows everything about Gojo that Geto did, and his plan was to still use Sukuna to kill him. And Kenjaku wasn't doing this because he thought, oh man, I don't know if Sukuna can do it. It's just far more convenient if the prison realm keeps him in there, because then a new one can't be born. Because we know for 100% certain that Kenjaku has killed 6 eyes users at birth, and at some point he decided it was no longer worth it. And even if we ignore all of that and we say that it was him being unsure, this was a Sukuna in base. This one has 10 shadows. And Sukuna's technique is still hidden this late in the story, and Gege is not the biggest fan of Gojo. While Gojo could have the maximum rainbow that deletes everything named Ryomen Sukuna, I really think we're looking past a mountain of foreshadowing. Sukuna is really being set up to be the most powerful character in Jujutsu Kaisen. And really, that makes sense because he is the main powerhouse villain. While Kenjaku moves the plot forward, besides being a big brain, he doesn't really have any emotional conflict. Kenjaku tried his hardest, but Sukuna is just the most evil character in this series. Udahime, did you say that Noritoshi Kamo is the most evil sorcerer in history? Well, I hope you never meet Ryomen Sukuna, because this man is trying to speedrun Japan's global suffering. But I really love the position this puts Gojo in, even if he does lose, because Gojo right now is the lighthouse in the storm. He is the last great dam in this story against the tidal wave that is Ryomen Sukuna, an ancient, inhuman, malevolent entity. Where Gojo Satoru's him and calls himself the Honored One, Ryomen Sukuna has only ever called himself the Fallen, and like a natural disaster, he simply is. But that's just my opinion. Now I want to hear yours, so let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be making a Gojo video similar to this eventually. If you want more content like this, leave a like on this video, and if you want to see more of my content, subscribe to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching.